Hello, everyone. Welcome to our brand new event space. We've been using this space for about 2 weeks now, so it's brand spanking new. Thank you for joining us here and for filling it up with your lovely faces. My name is Bonnie, my pronouns are they, them, and I am part of the events team here at Brookline Booksmith. Today it is my absolute pleasure to host 3 incredible poets, José Olivarez, Quintin Collins, and Porsha Olayiwola, for our Third Thursdays poetry series. Before I do our introductions, I just have a few housekeeping notes. Firstly, copies of the poet's book will be available for sale at the counter over there. You can see them all easeled up. I really encourage you to support these poets' incredible work. If you can't get a book, follow them online. Say nice things to them. They're here. Yeah, say nice things. Say nice things in general. It's a good rule of thumb. Secondly, I want to just remind everybody to keep your phones off or on silent for the duration of the reading. Please note as well that while masks are not currently required at the store, they're highly encouraged, and I'm going to come around with a little box, so anyone who wants to take one, I'll just come through and we can pass it around. The event is being live streamed right at that iPad over there. The audience isn't visible except for a few backs of heads, but just be mindful when you're walking in that area. We don't want to block the view of our virtual attendees. And finally, we will have a Q&A at the end of the event, so hold your questions till the end, but definitely have them ready to go. This event is part of our monthly poetry reading series taking place on the third Thursday of each month here at Brookline Booksmith. I'm so excited to expand our poetry programming at the store and celebrate the work of artists from Massachusetts and beyond. Our March lineup was just announced, so you can head onto our website and check that out if you're interested. And if you have any feedback, suggestions, or questions about the poetry reading series, I'm the one to bring those to, and I'm floating around. I'm friendly, I don't bite, so just come on, say hi. And now for introductions. Quintin Collins is a writer and editor. He's the Solstice MFA Program Assistant Director and a poetry editor for Salamander. His first poetry collection is The Dandelion Speaks of Survival, and his second collection is Claim Tickets for Stolen People, winner of the Charles B. Wheeler Prize, and available at that counter over there. Quintin's work has appeared online and in print in places like Sidereal Magazine, Superstition Review, Glass, a journal of poetry, Solstice Literary Magazine, and many others. Quintin is a winner of a Pushcart Prize and the winner of the 2019 Atlantis Award from Poets Pillow. He's received multiple Best of the Net nominations, and he was a finalist for the 2020 Redivider Beacon Street Prize. Porsha Olayiwola is the current Poet Laureate for the City of Boston, a graduate of Emerson College's Poetry MFA program, and the author of I Shimmer Sometimes Too, which again, you can check out at that back counter. Her work can be found published with Tri-Quarterly Magazine, the Boston Globe, Essence Magazine, Redivider, the Academy of American Poets, and many other places. Porsha is an individual World Poetry Slam champion and the founder of the Roxbury Poetry Festival. She's Brown University's 2019 Highmark Artist in Residence, as well as the 2021 Artist in Residence at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. She is also the 2020 Poet Laureate Fellow with the Academy of American Poets, and she recently joined the faculty of Brandeis University as the Jacob Ziskin Poet in Residence in the fall of 2022. Last year, she earned her MFA in poetry from Emerson, so belated congratulations there. And finally, José Olivarez is the son of Mexican immigrants. His debut book of poems, Citizen Illegal, was a finalist for the Penn Gene Stein Award and winner of the 2018 Chicago Review of Books Poetry Prize. It was named the top book of 2018 by the Adroit Journal, NPR, and the New York Public Library. Along with Felicia Chavez and Willie Perdomo, he co-edited the poetry anthology, The Breakbeat Poets Volume 4, Latin Next. He co-hosts the poetry podcast, The Poetry Gods, and in 2018, he was awarded the first annual Author and Artist in Justice Award from the Phillips Brooks House Association and named a debut poet of 2018 by Poets and Writers. In 2019, he was awarded a Ruth Lilly and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Poetry Fellowship from the Poetry Foundation. His work has been featured in the New York Times, the Paris Review, and many other places. All three of our poets tonight have something in common. They have connections to the Chicago area. While their work is in many ways very different from each other, something else that they have in common is that their work is deeply reflective and deeply felt. Lustrous, dynamic, and full of power, these poems are alive and vibrant, and I'm just so excited to hear them share their work together. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to José, Porsha,
How's everybody doing? Good? Hi, everybody out there in virtual land. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to read some poems from Claim Tickets for Stolen People tonight. And I'm going to start with a poem called All American Black Body. Body broke, but body builds mountain from matchsticks. Body burned, but body bends time round a wrist. Body bend words worth of hurt, but body writes signs of new cancer. Body crack, creak, shrink, split, rot, but rock. Bend low for soul, music, yes, my body be flesh, yes, bone, yes, my body be sinew, yes, a lot of atoms, body be Adam if you ask God, body be slouched out my bed, my body is America like paper and a house fire. You can totally make noise in this one. I'm A-okay with that. We don't have to do the Scream if you need to. Lets me know I'm doing something right. So next poem is called Downtown Chicago, A Decadence Uncommon. And so one of the interesting things about being a kid from the suburbs of Chicago is when the summers come around, you want to get on the commuter rail and go into the city. Particularly, you want to go to the beaches because you do a lot of the same stuff in the suburbs, and that's something a little bit new. And it's a big privilege when your parents let you get on the train with your friends for the first time, and they don't know what you're actually doing. Commuter rail already eased into the station, almost ready to ease out. We sprint through the doors. Our heaves and huffs ease to laughter staccato through our teeth in full raucous as we pick up steam. As the train picks up steam, this cacophony we chorus on a summer Monday morning while conductors click tickets, work-weary 9-to-5ers side-eye our upper deck chatter. Chatter we click, favorite jokes, song lyrics too loud for AM travelers. Change we clink to pay our fares, change we save for a meal downtown. Downtown is where our skin learns new proximities. So close that sweat beads skip from neck to neck, brow to brow. We arrive in the loop still loud as locomotives. As we racket off the train, out of the station, suburban kids bound for Gold Coast beaches, a decadence uncommon to our shopping mall. Bowling alley, movie theater, roller rink routines most days. Today, we grip summer like sand. Swimsuits under denim, city denizens for the day. Lake Michigan offers its tides to our feet, its gull-sung serenade to our ears. Fresh water up to our chest until the sun drops, our eyes droop. We droop against train station columns. Our gaggle no longer giggles. Just sweat-heavy sleep as we wait for the next train to normalcy, as we wait for city lights to burn to black, train cars sprinting back to the suburbs. Now had I had my life together, that poem would have been in the first book. That was like, that idea about writing about, taking the train into the city was like where I first realized who I was as a writer and what I needed to write about, which was being a suburban kid outside of Chicago, which is an interesting kind of cultural thing. I would describe it as like, there's Chicago, which is like Coke, and then there's like, a little bit outside of that, like Cal City, which is like Diet Coke, but then like, we're like 25 miles out, like Diet Coke with water in it. So not as cool, but In that same vein, this next poem is called I-57 to the Dan Ryan Improv. So to get into the city where I'm from, I hopped on I-57 and then I hit the Dan Ryan, which is like the southern artery going into downtown Chicago. And Chicago is definitely one of those areas where construction is one of the seasons. I-57 to the Dan Ryan grooved, surface fills heads with nods, thumps car wheels at pavement, lips jackhammer right on, in gravel, grit gospel. At 159th, backhoe arm waves to God, but don't it be hell that bakes this summer, bends these lanes serpentine, bedevils rush hour congregations. Nah, at 127th, it be jazz exhaust, sputter trumpets that get down round traffic cones, that bump clink beat when treads trespass your ETA. Hey now, high-vis vest and flashing lights at 115th. That thunk-a-thunk, snow brush bump in the trunk, gravel jump all night under floodlight, ain't no broken axle. Nah, at 95th that be cars slapping drums that boom to boom, that doom boom boom boom. Don't they lay it down asphalt smooth before that crossfade into winter. Chill, tires skirt, sudden stops, cha-cha slide on ice, snowplow, hold down, slow down, slippery conditions, rock salt chatter, pothole percussion. I still remember the first time I ever got on the Dan Ryan in the car as a kid and like being like so shocked that there were like train cars in the middle of the expressway. It was magical when you were like a child and you've never seen trains before. So this next poem is called Exegesis on a Chicken Wing, and it's part of a trilogy that I'm also mad didn't end up in the same book. But it all started because I had a coworker who said like, how can you eat chicken wings like in public? They're really messy. So like, of course I had to write 3 poems back to him. Pull apart the flesh between drumette, wingette, rip and tear the meat with your teeth and fingers, cheeks greasy if you eat chicken wings the right way. From end to end, a linear timeline of fat bristle skin as you stretch the wing straight, the span from the axe to the chicken's neck. We expect no blood in the pan of wings from sharks, no reminder of sacrifice as an exercise of hands. Hunger is an exercise of protest. We quell the commotion in our bellies with mild sauce doused wings. With curved acrylics, my aunt excavates a vein in her teeth, sucks her canines to loosen the carnage. I eat chicken wings in my campus student center to consume familiar bones in public. Don't you dare leave all that meat on that bone. Suck the mirror. Gnaw the gristle to pay respects to those who pluck feathers, cleave the breast from the wings. It's Ramadan. At 3 a.m., my roommate fries wings to satisfy day-long hunger. We leave a bowl of bones, grab a fistful. It's a register of ancestors hunched, elbows bent at 90 degrees, fingers pincered around a chicken wing. Another bone clinks a plate, eye unhinged connective tissue. Chicken bones scatter in a Walmart parking lot on the sidewalk at Ashland and Clybourne. In Boston Common, another graveyard of hunger. If I gather these remains, I can chart a path home. Chicken wings are powerful things.
Okay.
And they're delicious. Yeah, right? I mean, look, I respect Harold's, but like, we had Sharks and J&J's out there, so, you know. But I wouldn't say switching gears, but now a little bit of different kind of praise. So this is a poem called When I Grew Homesick for Boston instead of Chicago. I've been living here since 2016. And it's a weird feeling when you realize a place that you lived your entire life no longer starts to feel as much as home, Boston. The Dan Ryan South Side start just before 87th Street, a throat where cars fly in from I-57 and I-94, clutter like Garrett's popcorn kernels. That commuter cluster, unlike the lever connector, stop and go jockey for position, the Pike syrup drip next to Storrow Drive. Even still, I arrive at contentment. I no longer search for a Wicker Park gate in an Alston rat. Chicagoland's plump boulevards can't compare to how Boston streets straddle cars in one-ways so narrow you won't breathe. This compact metropolis, Brookline in the crook of Boston's arm, unlike how Evanston latches onto Chicago, makes a home in me like the rafter of turkeys that roost near the sea line on Beacon Street. I settle to the point that I not mistake the creak in my bones for a brown line train as it corners in the loop. I do not abandon memories of Chicago summertime carnivals that illuminate Marshfield Plaza, spill neon on I-57. Chicago won't let me forget. My cheeks wind-scored whenever I return home, a vortex shoved in my nostrils to steal my words before I can speak ill of the cold. And what does Boston give me? Autumn in Commonwealth Avenue in Brighton, at the top of the hill, I see a firelit tree border around the city. Nature's caution of old life's proximity, the once was always burning within reach. All right. I'm gonna read 2 more poems and then I'm gonna get out the way for these other amazing poets, because I'm really excited that I get to read with both of them. This is a dream come true for me. Thank you. You're making me feel special. All right, so this next poem is called Obama's Tan Suit. I don't know if y'all remember when that was like a controversy we didn't expect, but a lot of this book was really, there's a few Obama poems in here, and I didn't realize until I was writing this that I never really reconciled how I felt about having the first black president, also the first time I could vote, and being able to vote for him the first time, but then also looking back at everything that came with it and led us to where we are now, because where we are now is definitely not something that started in 2016. All right, Obama's tan suit. Button-down shirt our mothers cinched around our necks years ago. We outgrew the yokes, tie clipped behind the collar, pant hem retreated from Payless Oxfords, and our only suit. Only the baptism, then take it off. Put it back on the hanger so it doesn't wrinkle. Only a little big in the sleeves, only a coffee stain that should come right out. Dry clean only once a year, if even. Only a rental. Only job candidate without one. Only black job candidate. Only the first in-person interview. Only borrowed from our fathers. Only borrowed from our uncles. Only without matching slacks and jacket. Only Obama in a tan suit. Color after black, charcoal, and navy preempt our budgets. Tan, a hue reserved for disposable income. Imagine that the suit we wear for our cousin's wedding doesn't have to be good enough for our funerals. That our families could bury us in our favorite colors. Tailored waist, jacket that doesn't parachute our bodies. A suit we don't have to grow into over time, only to outgrow after only one use. Only a tan suit. Why not purple or burgundy? Why not velvet and rhinestones? Why not something Bootsy or James or Little Richard or Prince would don, a hue that hides stains, where we can finally spill our cognac, play our music, dance our dances, let our skin sweat through the fabric on our lapels, we too could pin America. All right, so I'm gonna end with a poem called Kickback in the Moon. I'm gonna take a nice swig before this because I don't know why I write these poems where I don't get time to breathe in them, but this is why as you're revising, you should read your poems out loud, because you realize one day you're gonna do readings and you're gonna have to read this while trying to remember to breathe. So this is called Kickback on the Moon. Thank you all again for being here in person and virtually if you're over there kicking in from the virtual world. The moon hits me up and says it's having a kickback and says, come through. So I throw on a FUBU throwback and Jabot strap jeans like they never went out of style. And hop in the car and play Parliament's Mothership Connection on repeat with the windows down and the volume loud. And I stop in Honolulu to pick up my homie on the naval base. And he steps out of the skin he has worn for the past 6 years and grabs the fit he wore when we were younger. You know, the one with the fitted socks capped in white on white Air Force Ones. And he scrubs the toes with a toothbrush. And that skin still fits, though he has gained a little weight. And I have gained a little weight. And our hairlines have crawled further back on our scalps, but we go. And drive straight up and keep the windows down and play Janelle Monáe's The Arc Android on repeat. And I don't smoke, but my homie smokes. And he blows an exhaust trail right through the atmosphere. And we can feel the wind in our hair, even where we no longer have hair, until we can't. Until we feel our bodies rise against the seatbelts, and the moon calls and asks, where y'all at? And we say, we'll be there in 5 minutes, and the moon says, niggas always late, well, hurry up. And we drive until we pull up on the moon, but we don't plant our flag or boot prints on the ground. We take our shoes off first, because that's what you do when you enter someone's home. And then we see all of our favorite cousins, and we shake up with the moon, who has a lake of crown in one of its craters, who pours several handles of Everclear and fruit punch with pineapple slices in another crater, and who says, "We can smoke in the crib if we want, but I don't smoke. But my homie does, and he smokes with the moon, and our brothers and sisters and our mothers and fathers and dead niggas, and I don't smoke, but fuck it, I smoke." And the moon says, "Let go." So we all open our arms, spread them wide, and float off the surface while Sunrise talks about the future, while everyone is happy and smiling, and we drink and sing and drink and sing, and elbow to elbow eat fried chicken wings with black-eyed peas shelled that morning, and gumbo our grandmothers have been making since that morning, and they still won't share that recipe, and we eat a second and third plate and fourth until the moon turns away from the sun, and we rest on the dark side and sleep for a day when the sun smacks the moon's face and wipes the dust from the moon's eyes. The moon says, "We don't have to go home, but we can't stay here." And we hug goodbye, and goodbye for another day, stopping to talk every time we walk a foot closer to the car, and we finally get in and buckle our seatbelts and turn up the stereo again, and the moon says, "Hold up, you coming to the next kickback? The next one is on Mars." And thank you.
Hey.
Make some more noise for Quintin. Asking for that because I needed time just to figure out what's going on up here. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. I'm super excited to be here with y'all. Y'all look good. Happy Black History Month. Okay. All right. I was at a residency earlier this year, and was told that I write ghost stories by a visiting writer. And I thought that was an interesting framework. So it's gonna get a little spooky, or do a lot of remembering, and maybe honoring, if that's cool. This first one is in this book. It's called Brunch with 12 Black Phantoms. Characters: Malcolm X, Biggie Smalls, aka Big Papa, Cleo from Set It Off, Aunt Jemima, Aaliyah, Mufasa, King of Pride Land, Simba's father, Darren, the teen intern from the Museum of Science and Industry who got shot the summer before he started his full ride at Northwestern, Rekia Boyd, Whitney Houston, icon, Audre Lorde, James Baldwin, Black expatriate. Setting: the play takes place at Malcolm's house on a summer Sunday near noon in the afterlife. The air is thick and hot, and you can hear for someone's mother yelling for you to stay out of the sun. Stay out the sun, stay out the sun, stay out the sun is a mantra echoed through the duration of the play. The table is long and wooden with an off-white lace tablecloth curving at both sides. It's set underneath a yellow canopy off a sodden pond. The grass is mowed and the cotton is flying high in a field to the left. Trimmed sunflowers stand in 2 large mason jars at both ends of the table. In the center lie platters of food: vegan mac and cheese, fresh chitterlings, fried chicken, baked chicken, barbecue chicken, gluten-free cornbread, collards, sweet potatoes glazed with honey, and roasted caramel brown with marshmallows burnt slightly like a hung man from a willow. The chairs all hold a body upright with the exception of 4 ghostless spaces in the center. The open pairs stare across from one another. The sun positions itself high and the stage is illuminated a golden yellow. Lord, heard off stage, I keep telling this fool I ain't afraid. Fear is a stranger, same way Jesus been, and what I got to keep silent for. Silence ain't never saved no one. Who? Show me a quiet stance and I'll show you a grave. Enter James Baldwin and Audre Lorde, arm in arm, cackling with cigarettes in their mouths. Act 1, Scene 1. That's that poem. Spooky, spooky. So now that we're there, we're editing. We're trying this out in 3 parts. The first, Rodney King mistakes the deep end of his swimming pool for the Atlantic. Dry land ain't never been for black folk. The earth taketh away, swallowing who it knows to be a grieving thing, whom else incites a fire, ignites a riot, a billy club built a man from dust. A nigga was only heading home, and now home is a camera flash, a drowning in a bottle and bathtub. I'm sure there is a dirge looping that Rodney fell into, a hell opening again, except each time you reach God, you unbecome. And where do you go after you've been resurrected in the flesh? And is that where black is? LA asphalt cross, no, water is sulfur, a puddle in a pool, a communion of blood is an ocean. And 2, police brutality is a middle passage, is a flood. The water knows this. As a nigga cometh, so shall then a nigga depart. Ask the ocean, how many came by sea, by salt? Salt water has a perfect memory. So be it, all niggas are trying to get back to where we came from. Rodney gave up the ghost like his daddy, both on Father's Day. There is a quote about lineage that doesn't quite fit, but no, not much fits nor opens except death, except think of this more as unborn. And where do you go if you are unborn? A womb, a backyard, a swimming pool, is that holy enough? A hole at the bottom of the CCC, we promise. We are always looking for a way home. And 3, across, Rodney King mistakes the deep end of his swimming pool for the Atlantic, or police brutality is a middle passage, is a flood. Dry land ain't never been for black folk. The water knows this. As a nigga, the earth taketh away, swallowing who cometh. So shall then a nigga depart. Ask the ocean. It knows to be a grieving thing, whom else? How many came by sea, by salt? Salt water incites a fire, ignites a riot. A billy club has a perfect memory. So be it, all niggas are built. A man from dust. A nigga was only trying to get back to where we came from, heading home, and now home is a camera flash. Rodney gave up the ghost like his daddy, a drowning in a bottle and bathtub, both on Father's Day. There is a quote, I'm sure. There is a dirge looping about lineage that doesn't quite fit, but know that Rodney fell into a hell opening again, except not much fits nor opens except death, except each time you reach God, you unbecome. Think of this more as unborn. And where do you go after you've been? And where do you go if you are unresurrected in the flesh and born a womb? Backyard swimming pool, is that where black is? LA asphalt cross, is that holy enough? A hole? No, water is sulfur, a puddle in a pool at the bottom of the CCC, we promise. A communion of blood is an ocean. We are always looking for a way home. I totally thought I started my timer, but I didn't. I've been kind of hunted. I've been writing a lot about water and the Black diaspora, just hunted by the fact that Rodney King was severely beaten by police, and that didn't kill him, but later on chose the water, and I just am interested in that, and thus Okay, let's see what we're doing here. On that note, I heard a lot of Chicago poems, and I suppose this is a ghost story about a black boy from the south side of Chicago. And it's called Plague of Blood, or the murder drowning of Eugene Williams sparks race riots for 8 days. The heat curdled the day into a haint. All the boys, whether white or black, paddler or swimmer, shriveled if left too lonely in the sun. Eugene had a look as elegant as wildflowers, sprouting in places we shouldn't be, and he swore, like how all Chicago niggas swell, there ain't a wave the ocean carried that Lake Michigan couldn't coil. His makeshift raft, a willing boat believing itself free, drifted o'er the line to a lawless sea of beachers. Men with hunt-heavy eyes, a pair of hands paler than sand, hurled a rock and opened Eugene's skull like a clam. Hardly hoarding breath, holding on to a railroad tie. All around him, a scarlet halo, his insides dyeing the blue of the lake with a bursting summer sunset. This is about Lake Lanier. Folks have heard of Lake Lanier?
Yeah.
Yes, or it's, people have been saying it's haunted. It's right outside of Atlanta, and a lot of folks go swimming, and it sounds like a lot of folks die there. But it is, it used to be a black town, right? It used to be an all black town, and then they filled it with water. And I saw this TikTok. This is from TikTok. I saw this TikTok that suggests that you can still see the church's steeple. And so I guess this is about that. Lake Lanier. Sometimes the tide is so low you can see the steeple. Nothing burns more radiant than the Bible of a hell-bent preacher, the gleaming Sunday shoes of a little girl, and a cross pitched on the lawn. Martin and Malcolm could tell you plain from the apertures in their chests. Gut the sanctuary first. Pray away apostles. Salt the tongue to sever the wings. Blaspheme the orishas. God is always the most necessary to destroy. Crucify and become history's cursed lover. Drown town hex. The night riders reaping. Man-made lakes belong to their holy ghosts. Vengeful deities understand the spire of the church is just the good Lord's dagger. Okay, folks. Wow, that is really generous. You do not have to do that. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna read one or two more, give or take. We'll see. This poem is about Margaret Garner. Folks have heard of Margaret Garner. Most of you have. If not, Toni Morris's Beloved is based off Margaret Garner, but she was a woman with a family who ran away from slavery and crossed the Ohio River, right, which was the marker of freedom. And once she and her family crossed the line, the captors caught up with them. And because she didn't want to get caught and get so back down into slavery, she began to kill her children, right? And she only got through one. There's also this narrative or this story, this note somewhere within the records that suggests that 3 of her children were products of the slave master and raping, which might have also fueled the need to get away and not have young people, young daughters return into slavery. So this poem is about that. In 3 parts. The first, Margaret Garner crosses the Ohio River in the voice of the Ohio River. Folks stay gunning toward me like I'm the second coming, like every Medea ain't a god with purpose. Cross me like a crucifix and I will lay Ohio bare. There is no word for a mother who has lost, just an unjust law rotting sweetly, blighting a fetus into the property of somebody willing to break a woman into a hollow harvest, a sin up yonder, child, wade through me like a hymn, a prayer, a river of Jordan, a gateway fleeing the Dixie, I, the chariot, freezing up, hardening myself in your quest. Margaret Garner crosses the Ohio River only to get caught and sold down the Mississippi in the voice of the Mississippi River. Like I'm some type of pistol, folks stay running from me. Mercy me. I thin the bloodline. I devein the country with a kitchen shank. Mississippi, sell them downriver. There is no sympathy for a child gone to clean sugar, cotton stalk, crowning the bones, cane fields, cankering the mouth, split the family into quarters with a slip of sail, big money, old man river, steamboat. I may be a womb of water, but can as easily be a rope, a tree, poplar or dogwood, the soil of the South, the blood on mine hands, a balm. And 3. Margaret Garner crosses the Ohio River only to get caught and sold down the Mississippi, or the mother stands trial for murdering her children in the voice of Margaret Garner. Folks stay gunning toward me like I'm some type of pistol, like I'm the second coming. Folks stay running from me like every Medea ain't a god. Mercy me. I thin the bloodline with purpose. Cross me like a crucifix, and I devein the country with a kitchen shank. I will lay Ohio bare. There is no Mississippi, sell them downriver. There is no word for a mother who has lost sympathy for a child gone to clean sugar, just an unjust law rotting sweetly. Cotton stalk crowning the bones, blighting a fetus into the property, cane fields, cankering the mouth of somebody willing to break, split the family into quarters, a woman into a hollow harvest with a slip of sail, big muddy, ascend up yonder, child, wade, old man river, steamboat through me like a hymn. I may be a womb of water, a prayer, a river of Jordan, but can as easily be a rope, a gateway fleeing the Dixie. I, a tree, poplar or dogwood, the chariot freezing up the soil of the South, hardening myself in your quest, the blood on my hands, a balm. How y'all doing? All right. They put me in the middle because I was doing these stories. No, I'm kidding. Okay, this is my last poem. It is also a ghost story, but more so a ghost of all of the conversations I was eavesdropping on and took notes. So if you're ever looking for a writing prompt, this is a eavesdrop cento in which you just sit in a place and write down things that people are saying and you make a poem. So I'm calling this dialogue with the note, poem composed of conversations overheard in Provincetown, Massachusetts. These are my feelings. I'm something unreliable. I wish I could golf. I wanted to, I'm sorry, I had a conversation with my partner about golfing today. No, okay. These are my feelings. I'm something unreliable. I wish I could golf. I wanted to, it never happened. It's sad. I wish I could fall back in love. I wish I could insert laughter here. If I'm being honest, I'm such a good history. I don't know if I want to still be here. I don't know if I want to be still here. I swear to God, just last month, I saw myself walking through town. Now I'm looking over the shoulder, anxious, lost, and it's just like you arrive on an island one day and the next you're a small blueberry muffin, a mild roast. I miss my blanket, the birds chirping. Oh, I want to want beauty on a dangerous day. I want to hear someone, anyone, just sweet enough, call out to me, say, Porsha, your order's ready now. That's the end! Make some noise for the final poet coming up here, who just released a book yesterday. Give it up for Jose!
Oh, wow. That's cool. What's up, everybody? My name is José Olivarez. Thank you all for being here. Make some noise for Porsha and Quintin.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to start with this poem. This poem is called Ode to Tortillas. I wrote it after eating tortillas for breakfast. Yeah, that's really the inspiration. All right. Ode to Tortillas. There's two ways to be a Mexican writer that we've discovered so far. You can be the Mexican writer who writes about tortillas, or you can be the Mexican writer who writes about croissants instead of the tortillas on their plate. Can you be a Mexican writer if you're allergic to corn? There's two ways to be a Mexican writer that are true and tested. You can write about migration, or you can write about migration. Can you be a Mexican writer if you never migrated, if your family never migrated? There's two ways to be a Mexican writer. You can translate from Spanish, or you can translate to Spanish, or you can refuse to translate altogether. There's only one wound in the Mexican writer's imagination, and it's the wound of the chancla. It's the wound of birria being sold out at the taco truck. It's the wound of too many dolores and not enough dollars. It can be argued that these are all chanclazos. Even death is a chanclazo. There's only one miracle gifted to Mexicans, and it is the miracle of never running out of cheap beer. It's the miracle of never running out of bad jokes. There's infinite ways to eat a tortilla, made in the ancient ways by hand and warmed in a comal, made with corn or with Taco Bell plastic. There's like a Taco Bell right across the street. What about flour tortillas? Flour tortillas count if you ask San Antonio. My people, I am poly with the tortillas. You can eat tortillas with your hands or roll them up and dip them in caldo like my mom does. You can eat them with a fork and knife like my bougie cousins do. What bougie cousins? I made them up for the purpose of this poem. You can eat tortillas and tacos or warmed up by microwave and drizzled with butter. Tortillas con arroz, tortillas con frijoles. Tortillas flipped by hand or tortillas flipped with a spatula. Tortillas with eggs for breakfast. Tortillas fried and sprinkled with sugar for dessert. Hard shell tortillas. Gluten-free tortillas for our mixed family. Shout out to gluten-free cornbread. We are still discovering new ways to fold a tortilla, to cut a tortilla up, to transform a tortilla into new worlds, to feed each other with tortillas. My people, if I have children, I will teach them about tortillas, but I'm sure they'll want McDonald's. Wow, this is a trip. This is cool. So I went to school at Harvard. Yeah, you can move that place. That is the appropriate response, actually. And so this is a poem that is about being broke at Harvard. It's called Wealth. It's after Lucille Clifton. Don't talk to me about wealth. When I got into Harvard, my guys joked it was to mow the lawns. I laughed until I met my roommates and they offered me a broom. If I accepted the broom and beat the cobwebs out of their heads, do you think I'd forget? Now I make poems in languages they can't register. You feel me? In every poem I hide garden shears, invitations to banquets and they still don't spell my name right. Apologies. When they say Jose, the only people to turn their heads are me and the janitors, line cooks, waitstaff, yes, landscapers. Jose el poeta y Jose the gardener, each of us biting our tongues, trying to make beauty grow from soil covering bones barely under the surface. So all these poems are from my new book of poems. It's called Promises of Gold. It just came out on Tuesday, so that's exciting. It's brand new. Yeah, happy birthday to the book. It's an Aquarius like me. What else do I want to say? Oh, so the majority of these poems started as love poems, and I was interested in love poems for a couple of reasons. One is that when I was touring for my first book, Citizen Illegal, I would visit colleges and high schools, and if I read a love poem, I'd be like, make some noise if you're in love, and it'd be silent. I'd be like, what? I was like, what's going on in the culture? Like, why are people not claiming love or crushes? You know what I mean? And so I was like, maybe there's room for more love poems. And I wanted to, as I was writing those poems, I wanted to think about all the ways that love manifests itself. So I'm gonna read, I think maybe 3 or 4 love poems of different kinds. And I just wanna say thank you all for coming. Thank you to Bonnie, the Brookline Booksmith, for having us. My first job out of college was at the Match Charter High School, which is over on the Commonwealth Ave. And so I used to walk down here all the time, specifically to the used books, because that was all I could afford. And so I have very great memories of this place, and so it's really beautiful to be able to read here. This first poem is a poem that I wrote for my mom. It's called An Almost Sonnet for My Mom's Almost Life. In the life where my mom never has kids, she doesn't mourn. She spends her 20s following Marco Antonio Solis show to show, hands up in surrender, in praise to a different God than the one she spends Sundays kneeling to now. I love imagining her like this. Her name, Maria Maria, a name the men cursed to the heavens, from Guadalajara to Oaxaca, holy name of the mother, reborn a mother to none. She babies herself, and maybe some lucky men, but only for a minute. Oh, I know my mom would protest. She would be bored without her family and God. My brothers blasting rap music in the basement, smoke reddening their eyes. Do our bellies of joy give joy to our maker? Reader, I am a parent to nothing, not even a plant. All I know is those Saturday mornings I've shared a coffee with my mom while love songs play on the radio, and she stirs her coffee with her eyes closed, dreaming of a life where her slight smiles are her own and only her own. Let's see. I'll read this poem because my boy Huggy is here. This is called Bulls vs. Suns, 1993. I don't know how many of you were born after 1993. I'm getting older, so I imagine a bunch of you. Back in the day, though, the Chicago Bulls were good at basketball, which is, I know, it seems unimaginable. Sometimes I pinch myself. I'm like, did that really happen? Did we used to be good at basketball? I don't think so. They play today, and I'm 100% sure they're losing as we speak. But this is a poem I wrote for my dad, Bulls vs. Suns, 1993. Sitting on your lap, watching your eyes follow the bouncing basketball, and my heart is 100 basketballs dribbling mad love for your arms, hugging me, throwing me into the air and catching me again after Marv Albert exclaims, here's Paxson for 3. Yes, and love is your fist closed and not fighting for once. Your fist fireworks above your head, fist far from the leather belt you used to discipline us. The way you say Paxson with a mouthful of joy, and my heart is is shooting 1,000 jump shots, heart-running layup drills, looking for you in the bleachers, heart loving what you love. Damn, my heart running suicides to be in your heart's Hall of Fame. All right, 3 more poems. This one is called Nate Calls Me Soft. And it's inspired by my friend Nate calling me soft. I get real creative sometimes. Nate calls me soft. If we were better at being honest, maybe it wouldn't take a bottle of something strong to make us talk straight. Straight edge as we used to be, driving around in that old Toyota Tercel from open mic to open mic. If I confess that the memory alone makes the corners of my eye itch, would you call me soft? Nate says yes. B says duh. Adam says you were the softest. My therapist says, let's talk about your parents. My brothers say, if all you're gonna do is talk, then pass the blunt. Mexican Jesus says nothing. Mercury is in reggaeton. Do the stars only talk to women? Tonight the stars are hidden by the brash lights of the city, and I want to say my friends can see my softness through all the jokes I crack, but maybe I don't need the stars to be tender. Maybe the next time I see you, I'll slap away the dap, pull you in close, and tell you under the ordinary streetlights how much I love you and that you still ain't shit. Cool. So this will be my second to last poem. I had to read this poem because there is a Taco Bell across the street. This is called Eating Taco Bell with Mexicans. The day I introduced Erica to my brothers, I warned her. My brothers are extra Mexican. What does that mean, she asked. I repeat, extra Mexican. When we hang out, they talk to her in English and ask her how she can love someone as ugly as me. They're rude. Do you have bad breath? Are your teeth fake? What's wrong with you? Why do you love our brother? They laugh in Spanish at their own jokes. They play Mario Kart and sing along to Bad Bunny. They say they're broke and blame capitalism. They say they're single and blame capitalism. They say they're in love and blame capitalism. They ask Erica if she's hungry and tell her she's in luck. Erica nods. She kisses me on the cheek in a language that needs no translation. She points at me and says he's the lucky one. My brothers laugh because she speaks their language of dumb jokes. They promise to take her to the bomb Mexican spot. The Mexican spot Mexicans try to keep a community secret. Then they take her to Taco Bell. My brothers really do love Taco Bell. It's not just for the poem, I promise. All right, this will be my last poem. Thank you again so much for listening. This poem is called Love Poem Beginning with the Yellow Cab, and it is for my wife, Erica. Yeah. That's cool. All right. This is a New York poem. I grew up in Chicago. I live outside New York. Yeah, Crystal, come on. I ask you, what's the first thing you think about when you see the color yellow? And like a real New Yorker, you say yellow cabs, not sunlight or a yellow ribbon tied around a vase of fresh begonias. Yellow cabs honking down Broadway. I still remember the night we first shared a cab. You whispered honey, whispered lace, whispered chrysanthemum. All that practice, and it turns out I had never ridden in a cab the right way. Around us, the street lights blurred into yellow ribbons, and when you put your hand on my thigh, it was like I knew for the first time why God gave us thighs, why God gave us hands. Maybe God invented yellow for the cabs, so the first time we touched, it could be accented in gold. Thank you all so much for listening.
All right, let's give it up one more time for these three amazing poets. So, we are going to be having a Q&A starting now. Folks, if you just have any questions for any of our poets, feel free to raise your hand. I'll call on you. And yeah.
Check, check. This makes me feel like we're at a press conference. You know what I'm saying? Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
For Zane, you said a lot of the books love poems. Remember the first thing you ever wrote?
So the question is, do I remember the first love poem I ever wrote? The very first poem I ever wrote was a love poem. It was for a crush I had in high school, and I did not give the poem to her, which was the right thing to do. The poem was not good. It was the first poem I wrote, but I liked it, and I kept writing. So yeah, I do remember.
Orange jacket first.
Thank you all. This is so beautiful. Jose, I gotta say, your poem, Let's Get Married, was read at our wedding 6 weeks ago. And we'd love to hear it from you if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I'm happy to read it. Maybe we can do that at the end, though. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm voting for that poem.
Did you have another question, or were you asking a joint question? Joint question.
We were just so excited. It was really beautiful.
Amazing. It is a great poem. The person in the black bandana, did I see you have a hand?
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, hey!
For all three of you, what's something that you wish people ask you about more often as you projects?
How? That's a really good question. I guess it's easier for me to say like what I wish I was asked less. As much as I love talking about being black and being a poet and being black in America, I like being asked a lot about being a poet because I'm also a poet. So if anybody out there is looking people for like poet things, I'm down with that. I'll come and talk about what we need to do for like marginalized people in poetry on a panel. I'll do it all day, but like I also know a lot about language. So.
Hi, Imani.
Hey, bro.
That's a good question. I think for me, it's kind of similar. I think I get asked a lot about the content and the themes of the poems, and while that's cool, I'm pretty proud also of like what I'm doing on the level of line break and craft and some of the decisions that I make. So anytime I get a chance to talk about those things, that feels good and special too.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, it's good to see you. I love what everybody said. I totally agree. I feel like my answer is a little bit more shallow. I'm interested in like talking about process, but I wish people would talk a little bit more about food. And I guess what I mean is that more sights of joy, I think is really interesting. And I'm a foodie, and so I could probably talk about food elaborately.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, on process, how long typically does it take you to write a poem that you're happy with? And then, do you have people you trust to be readers of your poems? Or do you make the decision yourself that it's ready for prime time?
I'll take it.
There you go.
Very.
Yeah, let's let's do that. I'll just project a little bit. So there is literally never a point where I feel like a poem is done. I have had the experience of being at a reading and changing things in my book right before I was going to start. In terms of having a trusted person, yes, everything I do for the most part gets run through my good friend and also amazing poet Daniel B. Summerhill. Like, we met in our grad school program together, and like we've been like this since like the end of that. Like, both of our first books wouldn't be in the world if it wasn't for each other, and the same with the second. Like, I was literally gonna wait like a few more years on this, but like it was 2020 and the world was burning down, and he said we might not be here tomorrow, so send that out. So yeah, like, but ultimately, like, I'm gonna look at this book like in 10 years and be like, man, I messed this up. So yeah, like, I mean, I guess like never. I mean, I do have some stuff that's like, man, I'm hot shit. Like, this is cool. This is cool. You gotta tell yourself that sometimes, because like it's cool because you can feel it for that moment, because you know you're gonna humble yourself like later when you look back at it and you see like, oh damn, like I really should not have broken the line. But yeah, so that's about it.
I think in terms of process, it takes me usually like 4 or 5 hours to get to a place where I feel like a draft is in a good place. In terms of like finishing a poem, it can take a lot longer than that. And then I also have people that I trust to kind of look at drafts. Although I found that nowadays I get a lot less kind of line edits than I used to when I was a younger poet. Mostly we kind of look at poems on like how they speak to each other and things like that. Or just like, I'll get like an automatic yes or no from them, like, yes, this is working, or no, it's not. But yeah, it's really helpful to have people to talk about poems with.
Yeah, and I'll say 4 to 5 hours, that feels about right. Takes a long time. A lot of my poems are like based in research and history. So first it takes a lot of researching, which is like where the poem begins in my brain, and it sits there for a couple of days until I can figure out what's happening, and what needs to be on the page. And then I probably write for like 20 minutes. I try to just get things out of my head and close it, and then I come and stare at it for 8 hours until I have something like a draft. But I was like debating reading this poem today, and running it past my favorite editor, that I've been working on since April, and like decided to add a whole nother thing, and it's still undone. So I don't know. Sometimes it varies. Sometimes it's never done. And I often run things past my fiance, who's an incredible writer. So.
All right, we got another question from the front row.
So question for Jose, you write in English and Spanish. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges, the differences in when you're writing in both languages? Do you start with one? Does it switch?
Yeah, so the poems in this book, it sounds so weird. So I wrote the poems in English, and then I had a friend of mine named David Ruano Gonzalez translate the poems into Spanish. And the reason for that is because he's a lot better at writing in Spanish than I am. I can write and read and talk and speak in Spanish, but it's not the language that I studied in. And so I don't really know if I actually have the range to translate my own poems yet. It's something that maybe I'd like to work up to, but I'm not there yet. The cool thing about working with David is he really cares about getting the music right and the textures right. And it was fun at times too. So, you know, as we talked about, I grew up in Calumet City, Illinois, in the south suburbs of Chicago, and some of the poems are so deeply rooted in that David would send me an email and be like, what are you talking about? Like, he had no idea what some of the things, you know, because they're not literal translations that way. So it also gives me a sense of like how specific language is, right? And how, yeah, there's like many textures and layers to it that are always present. So that was a really cool process. And then the last thing I'll say is that the coolest thing has been that my parents are able to read my poems for the first time. And so like my mom read it and texted me, and it's the first time we've ever been able to like share that experience. So that's been really beautiful.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't see you over there. Go right ahead.
What do you guys do for fun outside of writing poetry?
Write poetry. No. It's funny. You did a poem about the Bulls. I keep like having this memory of going to a Bulls game. I was just telling somebody about it, but that's what I do. I go to a lot of basketball games. I watch a lot of basketball. I am a Celtics fan. I'm hoping for another legacy. You know, I'm like, are we in the era right now? I eat food. I love food. I travel, and then poems.
So were you a Bulls fan before?
Relatively. I was like really young, but I have this picture of me and my family all dressed in Bulls outfits in the 90s, but I couldn't remember if it was real, like if we went to a game or if it was just a picture. And I called my mom, I'm like, did we go to this game? She was like, no, we didn't. But then I called my sister, she was like, yes, we did. So in my brain, yes, I'm from the MJ, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman era, but you know, happy with the Celtics nation.
Yeah, I wish. I was so mad at the Bulls earlier this year. I was like trying to find a new team to root for. Yeah, right. What do I do for fun? So the main thing that I do for fun is play video games, and specifically NBA 2K, which is hella fun until it's not fun, which usually happens when we lose the game. We should not lose. So yeah, that's what I do for fun. Also, big into food and trying to travel and do different things. I like trying new experiences, so that's cool.
I would say my primary motive, like getting sucked into something else, is Lego. My wife made this mistake of buying me a Lego set again after like over a decade of not having it, and I'm kind of deep back in. And like it was a cool like little hobby, but then like you know after I started posting some stuff online, which is like amazing because like as a kid like. For people to see the stuff you made, like you had to get in the magazine, and that was like a big deal. Like you can just put it on Reddit now. Somebody reached out to me and was like, "Hey, like I'm like one of the casting directors for Lego Masters. Would you want to talk about the show?" And I was like, "No, you cannot have my social security number, but like you can message me on like my Lego Instagram, so I know like you're a real person." And so like after having that experience, like it didn't work out for work, but I was like, "Damn, I really do want to do that someday," because like. I mean, like, kid, you'd be like, what? They have a TV show? But, yeah, I kind of got, like, you know, a little bit big-headed about it, which meant, like, I had to, like, do more of it because it's fun. But realistically, like, it's another way, like, I stretch. I like to think about writing as, like, I'm trying to solve a problem. And, like, Lego kind of does that where it's like, okay, here's the thing I need to make. And it's either in my head or it's something from a reference. And, like, how can I get there with my limited tool set? I've been like thinking forever, like I need to do a class on like Lego in poetic form, and I'm just like too lazy to sit down and like put it together because I love like writing and talking about writing and doing panels, but like teaching is like that thing where I'm like, I'm gonna get to it tomorrow. And beyond that, like I love bowling. I don't get to do it as much here because like Massachusetts, like it seemingly hates bowling for some reason. I don't know why. Like in Illinois, where I grew up, like there's like 10 bowling alleys, but then like I can like literally step out my door and there's a bowling alley. I have a whole like family lineage of bowling, like my dad and my granddad and my uncles and all that. And so like getting here was shocking to me that I had to like get on the expressway to get to a bowling alley. And the fact that like 10 pin is a thing. I'm just like, why is e-ball a bowling alley? But yeah, like one day, I had the really sad experience of opening up my bowling ball back before I moved to my current place in Dorchester and realizing because I hadn't used it so long to crack. And I was like, oh, it's cool to just buy a new one and get it drilled, but like there's nowhere in Boston that will drill a bowling ball. So like, I love this city, but why does it hate bowling?
All right, we have time for one more question. You can go right ahead.
Can you repeat the question? What would their childhood selves think of them now as published poets?
Yeah, so my childhood self would be very disappointed that I'm not a professional basketball player. That is what my younger self would think.
Yeah, I mean, I think she would be definitely impressed, but also disappointed. Like, why do you take yourself so seriously?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to say disappointed because like, Kid B like wanted to be a poet. It's like no. Like you wanted to be an Air Force pilot. You wanted to be a priest at one point for some reason. Like maybe priest me would be okay with it. Be like, okay, that's cool, that's chill. Like maybe you're doing something that's sermony. But yeah, like no, like Kid Me with that, like okay, 8th grade Kid Me when I first started writing poems. But like, all right, dope, you did it. But like. Further back Kid Me was like what the hell is poetry?
Amazing. What a question to end on. Thank you to our audience for being here. It's again really wonderful to have this space full of enthusiastic faces, amazing questions. It's a joy to have you all, and of course, it is a joy to have Porsha, Jose, and Quintin. Everyone, let's give them one more round of applause. Yes, I'm so sorry. I forgot.
Ooh.
We've got one last poem by request.
I'll just stand up.
Do you want this podium or do you?
Oh yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
That mic sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
All right. So I wrote this poem for my friend's wedding, which happened right before my own wedding. So it's called Let's Get Married, and it's for Allison and Nate on the occasion of their wedding, and always for Erica. Let's get married on a Tuesday with the 6-piece from Harold's as our witness. Let's get married at noon and then again at 3:30 when the school day lets out and a whole block of dandelions flower our ceremony. Let's get married under a full moon and then again under a new moon, so every celestial being can witness our vows. Love, one wedding isn't enough for me. I want to propose again and again. On a Wednesday because you did the dishes. On a Thursday because we woke up next to each other again. Say yes, say less. I'll be on one knee asking you to share in the delight of knowing each other. Let's get married because Chicago, because St. Louis is a city on a map, because your name is my favorite word. Let's get married because there are vows we can only make in the dark, because we don't need a witness to say I do. Let's get married because it's raining and that's supposed to be good luck. Mi amor, mi cielo, mi vida. Let's get married in every language we can and can't speak. Under every God, my God, the way you look at me is a miracle I believe in. Because we get one life, one. Say yes, then say yes again. Let's get married after we get married, because underneath every word I write, there is one word I carve into every desk, one word I tag onto every building, on every block of my heart. Marry me, make me, no, not complete, but a little more alive than I've ever been. Wow. Thanks, y'all.
Beautiful. Thank you for the reminder to read the poem. I'm so glad we got to hear it. So we will have a signing at this table over here, and you can buy books over in the back there. They're easeled up. I'll be over there. But thank you all again for coming, and thank you again, Porsha, Jose, and Quintin, for being here. This was really a lovely night, so thanks.